All right, come join Kyle, John, and David as they go through what's on their playlist. Find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest. In and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we talk about the big M's, coming attractions, what the cue. Quick checks, who'll be laughing? You abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast where you can hear all latest in television and entertainment news with too many else with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and a third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am the Ramy to John's Don't Worry Darling to Dave's I'm gonna say Don't Worry Darling spoiler edition.
Oh, okay, good.
I almost gave you
goodness.
Jeffery Dahmer.
Yeah, I know where you almost gave me. No, but we will be talking about all three of those properties.
We will be
tonight.
Cannibalizing.
No,
one of us live on stream tonight.
Oh my goodness, guys. All right. Okay, we're going to be talking about the biggest show on Netflix right now, Monster, the Jeffery Dahmer Story. We got a show on Hulu, the season 3 premiere of Ramy. And even after last week where I did a spoiler-free review of Don't Worry Darling, Kyle has now seen it, so we're going to dive into spoilers for that film as well. So we got a lot to do tonight. We should probably jump to this first segment. John, what is it?
In and out points.
In, order out. In, order out. In, out.
Yes, it is in or out points. All right, let's start off with big news coming from Comedy Central. Since 2015, Trevor Noah has hosted The Daily Show, but he announced this week his time is coming up. After 7 years, he told Thursday's audience that he was stepping down, but it's unclear at this time when his actual exit will take place or who will succeed him. All right, let's start off with Kyle. What do you think about this news? Trevor Noah is out of The Daily Show.
I was actually, I don't know, a little bit surprised about this because it felt like Jon Stewart was there forever. And maybe just because I have not really been watching it that much, it just felt like such a short period of time. I guess this makes me just feel old because it's just like, what, this is the next man up kind of thing. Also, he just still felt new to me. I think that's what it was. It felt like, at least when I was back watching him in his early days, still finding his way. But I just expected him to be there longer. But I get it for him wanting to try new things. I mean, he's got like comedy specials even when he was doing The Daily Show. So I get it. Wanted to move on, do different stuff, but it just still felt early to me, even though he was there 7 years. Do you know if he signed like a 7-year contract like other shows do?
Very funny you mentioned that, Kyle, because that could lead into some news I heard from the Hollywood Reporter and also from Puck that the timing is very odd with this announcement because he actually quietly re-upped his deal back in June for another 2 years. So that would bring him to 2025. So back in June, he was ready to go till 2025. And that this announcement on Thursday, some of his staffers, even his boss at Paramount, didn't see it coming. The Hollywood Reporter even noted that his boss had lunch with him the day before, discussing his future on the late night show. But the host gave no indication he was going to announce his departure the next day.
That's really weird.
So that's where it gets weird with this, where it's like, I totally understand he wants to get out of the studio. He wants to hit the road again. He loves touring, wants to tour the world. And I even saw in an interview that like back in the day when he took The Daily Show in 2015, that he had to tell Comedy Central, it's like, I got to figure out if I even want to do this because this would be like a pay cut. And they're like, pay cut? Like, you're going to be hosting The Daily Show. He's like, you don't understand how much money I make outside of America, different stadiums and arenas doing stand-up. So, the whole thing is just odd. Like at first I'm like, okay, I'm sure they knew and this was planned and he was going to give this announcement, but to have lunch with your boss the day before and not even mention the subject. Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like,
Yeah, to me it seems weird. Maybe he doesn't have a good relationship with him or enough to
That's what
be
I was
like,
thinking.
yo, this is what I'm
yeah.
gonna
But then to
do.
like
And he,
re-up back in June, yeah, I'll do it for 2 more years,
He
and
didn't like what he
then
was hearing from the boss in that lunch meeting or
yeah,
something. Maybe.
maybe.
who knows? Maybe he started dating Dua Lipa and he was like, I
I did see some tweets like that
gotta.
where, because at first on Thursday night I saw he was trending. I'm like, oh, what is he trending for? And I click it, and oh, he was spy with Dua Lipa, and they're out kissing, in New York City, and this and that. And then like 2 hours later, I saw he was trending again, and I'm like, what's this? And then it's like, oh, he's leaving the Daily Show. It's like, are these somehow one kiss is all it took? And
Yeah.
you're good.
I see what you did there.
I stole that from Twitter. I can't take
Oh,
credit for it.
okay.
But
But yeah, I mean, I probably would quit the Daily Show too if it meant I could
yeah,
be with Dua Lipa.
easy.
But
All right.
but
But
yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe Trevor Noah is doing the thing like all millennials have, I guess, done at some point in their
the Great
life, is like
Resignation.
break up via text,
Yeah.
or he'd rather go through agents. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, overall, it's just going to be an odd time for late night. I mean, sure, we
Mhm.
have Fallon, Kimmel, and Colbert, but in the last couple years, we saw Conan leave. We saw the cancellation of Full Frontal with Samantha Bee. Showtime's
Mhm.
Davis and Merrill stopped production. NBC parted ways with Lily Singh last year. So it's like, a lot of changes. James Corden's going to be leaving at some point. And, you look at like the pictures here, and it's just like, not only, are we losing a lot of late night people, but we're losing a lot of diverse late night people, and we're left with, the Jimmies.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, this is I mean, I don't know what the landscape is like for late night anymore. I think
yeah,
the viewership is still dwindling. I think it's more about the digital experience, and um I don't really know. Even Jimmy Kimmel
yeah.
is like having guest hosts like part of the time, and he's not there
He
all
just
the
re-upped
time.
his
Yeah.
contract with ABC, and he takes the entire summer off to have guest hosts. To have that kind of job, I don't think he does Fridays either. It's
Yeah.
like, come on, man.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know what I gotta imagine it's more for the digital views than it is
Yeah.
for the actual late night viewership of that night at this point for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think like HBO like just posts like the Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. They just like post that on YouTube every week.
Hmm.
Like, it's just to get the views at this point. I don't know the last time I even had it on just in the background at 11:30 at night. Like, I'll watch interview clips, the next day maybe on YouTube. That's just what it is at this point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's definitely a weird time in that sense. I mean, I don't even know what something like SNL is doing anymore, as far as,
yeah,
viewership, and their turnover and everything like that. So I don't know. I think it's also, if I had to guess, that people could just find comedy. They're searching for it via short clips, digital clips. I mean, it's even a thing for stand-up comedians. It's like
yeah.
you need to have clips and clips and clips
TikTok. Yeah.
of just shortened, and immediately there needs to be a joke right away, because it's like anybody can find like a cat jumping on the back of a dog, and they got this or that, and it's a constant. Whereas, like, why am I going to wait around to see a half-hearted sketch show
Mm.
and then somebody pushing, lip gloss or whatever
Mm.
nonsense they're doing? It's not. I
Yeah.
don't think that's what people are into, unless you're really, really into the guests. Like, if you're obsessed with Harry Styles, or if you're,
Mm.
obsessed with the Kardashians or whatever.
Mm.
YouTube's pushing those shorts hard. I mean,
Yeah.
they recently made a deal with, is it Sony? I don't remember, Sony Music, somebody, to loosen the leash on copyright for music in those shorts, like specifically in the shorts. So they're pushing them. So I
Mm.
mean, I could see why people are starting to use them more, is because TikTok's big and YouTube's really pushing them hard. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll have to wait and see the future of that and when Noah ends up leaving. Um, he started back in 2015. Also back in 2015, we said goodbye to NBC's Community after 6 seasons, multiple cancellations, and even a brief run on Yahoo Screen. Well, the prophecy wouldn't be complete without a movie. And after years of rumors, it was made official on Friday. 6 seasons and a movie. It's happening. It's finally happening. Peacock has announced it has greenlit the movie for a 2023 release, and it will feature Joel McHale, Danny Pudi, Allison Brie, Gillian Jacobs, Jim Rash, and Ken Jeong.
Okay, so we're missing a few there.
We're missing a few. We're missing a few. And yeah, notably absent from that announcement, Donald Glover, Yvette Nicole Brown, and Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna admit first you're excited about the news about the movie, and then I hear they're not in it, and then I instantly go back down. It's like I saw what it was without them in season 6. Some fun moments here and there, but it's not the same. Those first 3 seasons with this core group, that's what clicked. That's what worked. That was the ensemble. So I'm gonna miss them. I totally understand about Chevy. Okay, we don't really need him. We whatever, but like we really need the other two, and I think especially Troy. We need Donald Glover, and it's probably just too busy. Too much money.
Yeah, and he's probably thinking, why? Why would I do this? Yeah. He's a huge star now. Like it's insane.
What's interesting is like, sure, it was 2020, but like they did a virtual table read, and they got like everyone together. And he was a part of the virtual table read. I mean, nobody had anything to do, and everyone was home, so he found the time to do it for charity there. But like, it's just maybe they're waiting to like surprise us with a cameo or do something. Like there was always this movie fan fiction idea that like the movie would be about the search for Troy, because spoiler, I guess, for something that aired, 7-8 years ago, that he was captured by pirates when he was sailing out to sea with LeVar Burton. It's like, oh, we gotta, save Troy from this. It's like, okay, that could be the thing of the movie or something, but I don't know. I'm just confused of like, like
how can it happen without him, kind of thing. Yeah,
we're missing, in this photo, you're missing about half the core principles here.
Yeah, I mean, to me that would be a problem. It would feel like you're not getting the real thing. But I mean, at this point, the series and everything has spanned a huge swath of time, and the trajectory of the show has been like kind of all over the place. Is Yahoo's Screen?
No.
Does Yahoo even
Joel McHale made a joke that this in some Paul Feig show like pretty much bankrupt Yahoo Screen. It was like they did our show, it didn't click, no more Yahoo Screen. But what's odd is Joel McHale did tag Donald and Yvette in the news of this. And Yvette has been liking and retweeting a lot about it. But so I am confused. Like, she's not in the press release. They made a point to say in all these articles announcing the movie that they are not signed on. So are they still waiting on the contracts? Are they still negotiating? It's just like weird. It's just like she's clearly happy that this is happening. Is she not involved? And then again, Joel McHale did tag Gillian Anderson instead of Gillian Jacobs. I don't know if that's just like he's literally Brittaing it. Like of course screwing it up like Britta would, but like. I mean, Gillian Anderson at least is in, it sounds like, so they can always have her replace somebody. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see if they end up joining. There's so many other people that they could involve. Like you got John Oliver, who had a lot of reoccurring episodes. Jonathan Banks, he took over for Chevy in season 5 there. Keith David, Paget Brewster, a bunch of other people swapping out for when the core ensemble had people come in and out. Maybe they can come in as well.
Yeah.
But I really hope we can get the full group together, because it really clicked when it was the full ensemble playing off each other. Shows like Community, shows like Arrested Development, like those are based on the ensemble. So when you only have 3 or 4 of them, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Uh,
But is it the original writers gonna write
yeah,
it?
so yeah, Dan
All right.
Harmon is
So
back. Some of the other
that's
writers, I
good.
can't remember off the top of my head, but they've written some of the more classic episodes of Community. So,
Well, that's good, I guess.
all right. Well, let's now talk about more TV shows with this special list that Rolling Stone did. Rolling Stones tried to do the impossible here. They're trying to rank all the TV shows ever. We've done these lists before where it's like, oh, it's the best of the year or the best sitcoms or whatever. This is the greatest shows of all time.
Mm,
And I'll set up how they did it. We'll run through the list. We'll see what we missed. I'll put the list in the chat right now. So, Kyle, you can kind of peruse the list. I should have given this to you beforehand, but
it's so good.
whoops, I copied the wrong word there. That spoils what is number 100 there. I'm doing this live on the podcast. Why am I doing this live?
Well, I saw that the creator of this list said that the creator of BoJack Horseman gave the
Yeah,
most interesting
we'll get
list.
to that a little bit. But so pretty much what he did, you kind of mentioned it there, Kyle. The creator of this list, well, the Rolling Stone, but it was Alan Sepinwall was a big factor behind this. He reached out to TV stars, creators, critics, and they had them rank their shows, their favorite, 100 shows, and then after that, kind of use some ranked pointing system where we got a top 100. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, number one was worth this much. Number two was worth that much. So it's like all this point system there, a lot of math. And this includes everything: scripted, reality, variety. I mean, I saw like the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, or even the Daily Show with Jon Stewart was eligible. I mean, so it's like there's a lot of things on this list. I'll run through, let's see, maybe the top 20. We'll scroll through the top 50 on Twitch here, but I'm gonna go top 20, from 20 to 1. At 20 is 30 Rock, I May Destroy You, SNL, The Leftovers, Twin Peaks, The Larry Sanders Show, The Americans, Veep, Twilight Zone, and Succession. And then when we get to the top 10, at 10, Mary Tyler Moore Show, 9, Atlanta, Cheers was number 8, 7, Mad Men, 6, Seinfeld, 5, Fleabag, 4, The Wire, 3, Breaking Bad, 2, The Simpsons, and 1, The Sopranos. All right, so Kyle, give me your thoughts on the list, on the top 20, and of course the number 1, The Sopranos.
Like, I just think about this, and it's so hard to put things into perspective between what's happening in the 70s and what's happening now, who they're competing against. And I mean, I guess it's good that they reached out to like industry insiders that maybe have been around for a while, but still, like, I loved I May Destroy You, but I don't know.
Number 19
Yeah,
of
I don't
all
know
time.
how I'm supposed to put that in perspective to like
against MASH.
yeah, it's like, and also I May Destroy You, one season of like what,
Yeah.
6 episodes, 6 or 7 episodes, and yeah, super, very strong, good ensemble cast, great writing, talking about deep issues. But how am I supposed to put that up against like news radio from 1990 NBC comedy?
Or
I don't.
SNL, that was just one
Yeah,
spot higher with like 600 billion episodes.
yeah,
Like,
it's so hard. I don't, and I guess any type of list you're gonna have this kind of stuff, but I'm honestly surprised to see Atlanta as high
yeah,
as it is with how I felt about the last season.
I agree.
But the
Yeah.
first two seasons are really good. But then it's like, well, do we just are we? Does it bring down its merit because of that season? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very. I think it's almost impossible to do something like this. But I have to say, I mean, they're top 6 or 7. Yeah, it's tough to argue with that.
Yeah, because like you're going through it. Like I just picked a random spot here. 87, you have The Kids in the Hall, okay, sketch comedy group here. Right under that, The Crown, which is airing right now at 88. And then you have The Carol Burnett Show. like
yeah.
underneath that, The Wonder Years, and then Johnny Carson. It's just like, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you go through the list and I see some shows and I don't think much, like, was it the timing? Is it just, because like Atlanta, I love Atlanta, but like, was it number 9 on the list? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that, especially
Yeah.
because probably when they were voting, they were watching season 3, which wasn't that strong. And, then I saw like Russian Doll was higher on the list than South Park, Frasier, Sex and the
Yeah.
City, Always Sunny, Fargo. It's like there was one good season of Russian Doll. The second season I can't get through. How is it higher than these shows that have won multiple Emmys, were on for years, or they're
Yeah.
cornerstone of like networks? Like I don't understand. And I don't know. I saw, I looked up specifically for John here. Better Call Saul,
32.
way too low at 32.
32. You're telling
And
me
it was-
that all those boomer shows are better than Saul? No, I'm joking. I don't know. This definitely. How do you make a list like this? How do you make a list of the all-time best? Because like we only have the frame of reference that we're currently in. Shouldn't it be the best shows right now? Like, how do you rank again? How do you rank something like, I Love Lucy and MASH and all that against Better Call Saul? Like, for someone like me who's living right now, it's a no-brainer. So I feel like, how can you make this list and not have it be like this set of persons like top, not just the general top? You know what I mean? It's such a hard thing to like do and quantify. I feel like.
I'm briefly like just scrolling through the list right now. I think The Good Place being at 40 is kind of egregious. I really fell off that show. Yeah. And I mean, it was fine the first few seasons, but come on, man.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's like what was popular, and like the issue I also have with this list is like you mentioned that the creator BoJack Horseman did that list, and he has like a very funny list. You should definitely check it out. I think it's on Alan Sepinwall's like Instagram and Twitter, and it's like all of his thoughts. Oh, it's girls, the Golden Girls, not the girls, and then the one underneath it, girls, not golden, the other one. Like he has like this whole thing. But then I looked and it's like number 1, he has his like 3 shows that he created. And it's like,
hang on a second, buddy.
I can like BoJack, but like, come on, like the number 1 show of all time, like you're skewing it. So like that probably got like whatever 100 points.
Yeah.
And then so that's why you get something like, is it really a top 20 show? And then this other thing, it's like, well, nobody was working on this show, so of course it got delegated to like 94. And it's just like, and like, do they know what was even eligible with this? Because it's like I saw somebody say like OJ Made in America, that's one of the best shows, but like, did they consider that a show? Was that a movie? It was eligible. It just missed the top 100, but like, so who knows? Like it's a cool idea, but it's such a daunting thing.
There's no way to do it and make it fair. It's like there is no way, because there's always gonna be somebody that says, well, what about this? There's no way to take it all into account. You can only do what your top whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like there's no like general top. I don't know.
Because even like looking at it, it's like I just noticed that Watchmen and Freaks and Geeks are higher than Saul, Game of Thrones, and Parks and Rec. I love Watchmen. I think Freaks and Geeks had, of course, a monumental first season, but there was like 1 season of something versus whatever 6 seasons of Saul, 9 seasons of The Office. It's just, it just doesn't compute in my head how, but all right, we could go on and on with this list, but we should move to movies a little bit here. We're going to talk specifically about Tom Hanks, because he had a recent interview in People magazine, and he said, quote, "No one knows how a movie is made, though everyone thinks they do. I've made a ton of movies, and 4 of them are pretty good, I think. And I'm still amazed at how films come together. From a flicker of an idea to the flickering image on screen, the whole process is a miracle." So I want to take something specifically here, was how he said he had 4 pretty good films over his 40-year career. He didn't say what his top 4 were in that interview.
Mm.
You could piece together from other interviews, which I'll mention in a minute, what he may think is his top 4 films. But one, John, do you think that is even true? He's only made 4 pretty good films.
Maybe in
And-
his opinion. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
no.
Like,
Well, I'm waiting to see if like you're like, actually, he's made 0.
no,
Like-
no. I think he does great. He really puts effort into what he's doing. You could see it. You know,
I from the way that quote is phrased, and maybe I'm just analyzing it. I think what he's saying is like, based on going into the film, based on what he knew, that there was only 4 really. I know no matter what happens, this thing is going to be good. Whereas there's probably some where he's like, well, I guess this could be okay. And then you get there and then like the finished product, you're like, oh, what? This actually turned out okay, because you don't really know once it goes to the cutting room floor, you don't really know. But I imagine as an actor, you have a script, the writer, the director, you're like, all right, this thing is going to be a banger. You know what I mean? That's what I gathered from it.
maybe
See,
it's the opposite.
I read it.
What if he's
what was
like, oh, I only made 4 pretty good ones, but the rest were just like fire.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because he did say I made a ton of movies and 4 of them were pretty good, I think. But he didn't say what those 4 were. And from other interviews, if you kind of piece together what he said he's liked, we have A League of Their Own, Castaway, Forrest Gump, and then he even said the 2012 kind of flop, Cloud Atlas. Those were his 4 that he's mentioned that he really liked, those films. He's also has called Angels and Demons and Inferno, those sequels he did with the Da Vinci Code, as hooey. So he didn't like those. He thought those weren't good. So those are out. Those are the ones he liked. So I'm going to ask you guys, like, what are your like top 4, the Mount Rushmore
God.
Tom Hanks films here? While you're thinking, I'll read off what IMDb kind of has as their 4 films, because they kind of like, oh, what you're known for, and they'll put like 4 films. These are the 4 that IMDb says: Castaway, Big, Forrest Gump, and Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
He's been nominated for 6 Oscars, and he's won 2, of course, for Forrest Gump and for Philadelphia. And he's also been, out of all these ones I mentioned here, it's also A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. So those are his 6 films for IMDb. Philadelphia and Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood are his Oscar nominated roles. But again, you could be nominated and it could be a garbage movie. So what are the 4 films? John, give me some of your favorites.
I think Private Ryan has to be number 1 for me. Castaway, Forrest Gump, and Toy Story. I think that's my 4. I mean, they're
That's
all
pretty
solid
good.
films. How could you? I mean, you can't argue and say any of those are bad films. Like, I guess you could, but you'd be wrong.
I got Toy Story in my list, Castaway for sure. I really like Catch Me If You Can. I really like that movie. That's a good one. Maybe I'll throw in Forrest Gump as well for a 4th spot, because obviously that's one of the most famous. Another good one, actually, I just remembered is Captain Phillips. His performance in that is a very solid performance.
I think Captain Phillips is elevated by him. I'm not necessarily sure. I
guess I'm getting conflicted here. I'm getting performances mixed with film.
Yeah.
I'm getting like the 4 good performances from Tom Hanks versus the good films.
I just remembered Sully too. That was a really good performance as well, I thought.
Okay, I've got mine.
Shoot.
What about Elvis, John?
Yeah, I was gonna make the joke. I was gonna say Elvis. I was gonna choose the most ridiculous ones that I could think of. I think Forrest Gump has got to be up there. I love Big, actually, but I think that was early Tom Hanks, and I think that's when he was kind of trying to figure out, what Tom Hanks is going to be like. Saving Private Ryan definitely has to be up there for me, but I could see him being like, that's just like propaganda. I could see him like thinking so I don't know if that, but I think Saving Private Ryan for me. I love Castaway. Catch Me If You Can is a great one. Yeah. Those like 90s rom-coms I can throw away.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're gonna get
same for
some
me.
hate. You're gonna get some hate from my fiance in the other room here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, sure, but I'm just saying, you're not getting that from me. I
Yeah.
don't think that's a top.
But it just shows like how crazy his career is, like between all
Yeah.
genres. I pulled up 1993 to 2000, and I'm not gonna take out a single film. I'm gonna list every film he was in during those like 7 years, and every single one of them was a hit. Sleepless in Seattle, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, Toy Story, That Thing You Do, Saving Private Ryan, You've Got Mail, Toy Story 2, The Green Mile, Castaway. Like that is a run.
Yeah.
Like that
Forgot
is
Apollo 13. Shoot.
like any actor would love to have 4
Mhm.
of those films over 7 years. So he's made more than 4 pretty good films. I think case closed.
I forget about A League of Their Own too. I love A League of Their Own. It's such a good movie.
I think I like Apollo 13 more for the movie than his performance, though.
Yeah, that's
You
where it's
know?
tough. Where it's like it's the movie versus the performance versus the So
Dude, there's so many good. I would be interested to hear what he thinks is
yeah. Well, good
the
for you,
best.
John. Patch him in. Tom, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't have Tom Hanks. We have a different guy to talk about, and it's a part of our segment, What the Q?
What the is going on?
Yeah. All right. So first, before we get there, let's look at what the Q is on Netflix. The top 10 TV shows right now, as we speak, on Netflix. These are the top 10. All right. Number 10 here. I'm looking at all of them. I don't recognize like more than 3 of these.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
See, number 10 is Fate, the Winx Saga. 2 seasons. Never heard of it.
The Winx Saga?
Yeah, Winx.
Okay.
Number 9, Melverde. Let's see, it seems like it's an 80 episode soapy series. That's what it says, soapy.
Okay.
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 Number 8, The Great British Baking Show. I do
All
love
right.
Bake Off. I'm into Bake Off.
Okay.
Number 7, The Conversations with a Killer, the John Wayne Gacy tapes.
Okay. Well, anywhere I feel like true crime does well everywhere.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
love it everywhere.
Especially Netflix. They can't get enough of, I mean, we'll get to what number 1 is. They can't get enough. Number 6 is In the Dark, an ominous drama crime series. 4 seasons. Cobra Kai, number 5.
4 seasons. What is that?
Of In the Dark.
I'm
Great
in the
question.
dark on In the Dark.
There you
How
go.
can there be 4 seasons? This is what I mean. How is anybody making any money? I've never even heard of this damn show.
And there's 4
Every
seasons of
show
it.
in the world is being made. I don't know what this is.
Well, there's
I'm more
fi-
surprised people are still watching Cobra Kai.
5 seasons of Cobra Kai. It's huge.
And it's number
I
5.
fell off that. Yeah.
I think I fell off after episode 2.
We
Back
have
when it was
5
on YouTube.
seasons. 5 seasons of Dynasty. That's number 4.
What is that? Is that
I think
reality?
it's a reboot of that soap opera from like the 80s that our parents watched, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Number 3 is El Rey.
Okay.
Unfamiliar with that. Number 2, The Empress. Swoon-worthy. I love these little like things that they put underneath, like the 3 things to describe the series. Swoon-worthy emotional period piece. Those are the 3 for The Empress. And then number 1 still is Dahmer, which is Monster: the Jeffrey Dahmer Story. Ominous psychological horror. That is number 1 on the list. This thing's been huge. In its first week, it became Netflix's most watched first week new series on record. Yes, even more than Squid Game's first week. It has nearly 200 million hours watched in the first 5 days. And
Wow.
with a lot of views also comes a lot of controversy. We don't have time to go through it all tonight to break it all down, but it's opened up discussions about systematic racism, how the victims' families have spoken out against the series and how they were not even contacted by Netflix that it was even going to exist. And then even how Netflix accidentally, or maybe purposefully, I don't know, tagged the series as part of their LGBTQ content. So it was like in their featured
Oh, boy.
library. So a lot of issues with this show. And initially, I was going to let this all to John. John wanted to check it out. I was going to give it to John, but we've all seen the premiere. John has actually watched the entire thing.
Oh my gosh.
So let's start off with the Jeffrey Dahmer expert here. John, what did you think of Monster?
It was a trip. There's not a great person. I mean, obviously we're making a show about him, but yeah, some of the stuff that he did, I feel like I couldn't even think of if I wanted to. Like, you know, cutting people up and trying to melt them with acid and like eating them, and I don't know. He's messed up, but beyond that, I think they did a really good job with the storytelling. You know, we all watched the first episode, and that kind of shows, I believe it ends with him getting arrested, correct?
Yes,
And
the
so
first episode, yep.
That's
Spoiler alert.
Well, yeah, spoiler alert, I suppose. That's an interesting place to start your, 10 episodes, because now what do? Do you show everything after that? Do you show what's before? Do you show a mix? And yeah, they show a mix and they hop around through time, but I don't know if I've seen a show that's done it well enough where when they hop, they ground it and reference it to something else they already showed you, so you know exactly where in time it is. And it made sense. It made sense the way they were hopping around, which I really enjoyed. I think the show with the cinematography was beautifully done. Like, you can tell that a lot of care went into it with the colors and everything. And Netflix just stomped all over it with their compression and limiting you to like 580p or whatever they do over the internet. It really stank. This I think could have been like a beautiful show to watch just from a quality perspective, and I think they stomped all over it. So that kind of took it away from me a little bit from me. But I mean, there were scenes where someone was writing something on paper and like the piece of paper was like a blob. And it was like how they subtitled everything that they wrote down, but how like you can read, it's HD. It should be HD. Like, you can read paper. Like, but yeah, so that really was my biggest gripe with it. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth the watch if you can stomach the ideas and some of the imagery. It doesn't get super crazy.
Yeah, I want to know about the gore. Like, are we gonna like see stuff that like?
I think the worst thing you see are a couple flashes of like an arm that got cut off, but not cutting the arm off, just like you see like the stump, or you see every once in a while if somebody gets like somebody gets hit with like weights in the head, and so you see the head wounds on them, but you don't really see much more than that. You're not seeing like somebody get dissected. You see him dissecting, but you don't see somebody getting actually ripped open. But I mean, you're watching him do it, so it's still gruesome. It's not anything that I'd say like eat while watching, but it's not anything that you have to like worry about really running too far away from. So
yeah, and that's the thing I was kind of like worried about going into this, because I was like, oh, I'm sure I'll find it suspenseful, which I did. The first episode, it reminded me a little bit of Ryan Murphy's other show, the Gianni Versace American Crime Story, where it kind of starts at the end, and then it seems like we jump around, but at least with that they went like back in time each episode till we got to the beginning, which was the end. But obviously you could see in the promo images that we see the trial and this and that, so I'm sure we'll jump around a bit. But
you basically see it's cut all over the place, but from early life to his death, basically, is what they cover. But they sprinkle it in different ways, and the like 8, 9, 10 is a little bit more heavier towards his later life, whereas some of the middle stuff is a bit more heavier towards before he got captured. So they, like I said, they cut it really well. The story flows in such a way that you can tell when in time you are, even though they're jumping around a little bit. So that was nice. I really enjoyed that, because a lot of shows that we watch, sometimes they cut all over the place, and you're like, when are we? What's going on? And this is not the case for this one. This one does it really well.
Yeah. And I will say one more thing before I let Kyle jump in here is the other thing I worry about with this show is if we're going to over these 10 hours, like, do we really need 10 hours, especially if we're going to see, the actual victims, because this one we saw the in the first episode, the potential victim get away, but it's like, I don't want some kind of backstory thing where we humanize this monster. Like, that's the thing where it's like, I don't want the like, oh,
yeah,
poor him. It's like, I don't want that.
I get what you're saying. I think they more show the victims. They get more into the victims' lives. I mean, there's a couple episodes where they really focus in on one of the victims, like 2 episodes or so, where they go back home with his family, and they have some, they show his life and his relation and all that stuff, even before he met Jeffrey a little bit, and through while he's meeting him and up until his death. They really go and humanize everybody else but him. I mean, there is a degree where they're kind of humanizing him, but not nearly to the degree that they focus on other people with. So I didn't have that thought where they're like, where I would feel bad for him personally, or like thinking, oh, they're really trying to make him seem like he's just misguided. Like, no, that kind of doesn't happen. I mean, I think they are aware of what he did and represented as such.
Okay, so sorry,
Yeah,
Kyle.
no,
What did you think of this premiere here?
I thought it was, fascinating, because I wanted to read up on it instantly, because I only knew so much. I only knew so much about him. So it is wild, crazy. And I think people are just fascinated with this true crime stuff, and it's even more so now, especially if you're like a younger person, where everything's connected. Whereas, like, there was a time when people just like got in their car and you hope they made it to wherever they got to, and it's like that. We can't even think of that time anymore, really. It's just like a different era. So, I mean, I was assuming that they were going to have like some kind of origin of like how he came about. 'Cause like, what is driving this psychopath, basically,
I mean,
but it's
they sort of go into some of his family life, and how he went into the military and he kept getting fired from jobs and stuff, but it's never like, this is why he did it. Like, it's always, it's not like that. So
yeah, but I will say with John, I thought the production elements were really good. I mean, it definitely sets the tone, sets the mood, eerie throughout. You're on the edge of your seat. You're like, what in the heck is going on? How, like, this guy's got to get away. You understand, like, you're even putting yourself in that perspective. Like, what would I do in this situation? And you're seeing this in the first episode. You're seeing like this guy go through this transformation. He's like deeply afraid. I'm going to get out while I can. I'm not being allowed to. Okay, now I have to kind of negotiate. Where do I go from here? It's just very on the edge of your seat stuff. And I think in this sense, Ryan Murphy did a good job, because it's like
suspenseful. There was the music, the palette even reminded me a little bit of like Mindhunter, just like the
that's
it's like the reverse
vibe too
of Mindhunter. You know what I mean? Almost. You're following the criminal instead of the guys trying to catch him. And
I think I think the series probably does well from Evan Peters, just embodying or just diving into the character,
Yeah, I will say with Evan Peters, it wasn't just me. It wasn't just my fiance. There was many others that may have figured out where he got at least part of this characterization from Evan Peters. All I could hear was Joe Pera. That's all I could hear. And I'm not the only one. There's been plenty of people on Twitter, online.
Oh my God.
There's even an article, I think I saw, like, there was an interview that they did with Joe Pera, how he's heard the comparisons. He doesn't like the comparisons. So, yeah. So.
Well, you're talking about a guy who does comedy based on like being a wholesome individual being attached to this serial killer. I mean, I can't even imagine.
But like listening to it, there was a point where like I was watching it, and then she came into the room, and it's like that is Joe Pera. Like instantly, like you didn't even see the screen. It's like that's Joe Pera. Like it's wild. But this isn't the last of Dahmer for Netflix. They already have Conversations with a Killer, the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes, just like in whatever number 7 on the top 10 there was the other guy. It's a 3-part series that comes October 7th. They're going right into this here. They're putting it in early. So if you want more Jeffrey Dahmer, October 7th, they're gonna have a whole thing there for you. But let's move out from that there. We got 2 other things to talk about. In order to talk about them, we have to go back. So guys, send us back.
Back in time.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
All right, we're going to start off with Ramy, the season 3 premiere, Harry Potter. That was the name of that episode. All 10 episodes dropped on September 30th. Season 3 picks up a year after the disastrous events of the season 2 finale, where we saw Ramy on the night before his wedding hook up with his cousin and thus lose his wife, cousin, and also his mentor all at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, here we are a year later. Kyle, what did you think of the season 3 premiere?
I did enjoy this the first episode here. It kind of culminated in that final moment between the witch and him, and how she's kind of associating herself and how she can choose to be a witch, and he's like, fighting his whole heritage and upbringing, all this stuff, and it's still to this day, and he's trying to reconcile all these horrible things that he's done, and what does that mean for his religion and his attachment to God and all these things. So I think it was good. I think based on the first 2 episodes I've seen, they're going to do like little snippets going back to like previous episodes of like what's happening now, the consequences of those actions. And I think you're gonna see the consequences of those actions reap all throughout this season, but not be like the main story, if that makes sense. Like the fact that he left his wife is still lingering.
Yeah, his wife left him.
All of his decisions, it's affecting all of his decisions now, but I think we're just going to see little tidbits where like, they come back and they're like, hey, you pay up right now, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's an interesting character to root for, because obviously, Ramy's our main character here. And there's points where like you feel really bad for him, but it's like you also got yourself in these situations, dude. You caused this for yourself. And you hope for a happy ending for him, but it doesn't seem likely, especially at least from this first episode, season 3. I mean, he has just trouble like with his love life, with relationship. We mentioned everything that happened with his wife and cousin, and if you have all that, you have like this possible like porn addiction he's dealing with. He's seeing these like problems come up when he's being intimate with other partners, and there's parts where it's just like hard to watch. You're seeing this like date he goes on, just like crash and burn. It's like it's cringy, but it's real. And that's the thing where it's like with this character where you may not know much about his religion or his culture, but you could still find a way to relate to what he's going through, living his life, trying to figure things out. And
when we get to that date, I think this is a problem with Ramy as a whole, is like what he's saying is not wrong, but how he's getting it across is just not the way to go about it. You know what I mean? Or it's the receiver of that message doesn't want to hear this anyways. So what you're saying might be somewhat true, but like, is was it worth it to contact this person to talk about an issue that you know you're not going to agree on just because you hope that you're going to have sex with her? I don't know what the deal is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. So like how he goes about solving his problems sometimes it's like, you should have maybe thought about it a little bit longer there.
And even the big one that we are going to foresee where he's like still working for his uncle and now he's like going to be working with known, I guess, mob affiliates is
Yeah. So yeah, definitely money is going to be an issue this season. I mean, it's he's working for his uncle, which he doesn't want to do, even though he's good at selling jewelry and doing stuff like that. But yeah, is he going to go against his like morals and go to Israel to meet these mobsters in this kind of diamond group there? And everyone's saying pretty much warning him now, this is bad news, dude. This is not good. Don't do this. But it's like he owes $100,000 for breaking this kind of contract, this marriage contract with his wife. Obviously, they mentioned how his parents are hurting as well, and like they're gonna possibly lose the house. So there's so much going on, and I'm just already thinking like, are we gonna kind of get like this uncut gem situation where he's given this money or he's given this inventory or whatever, and it goes missing or he can't sell it or something happens, and then he owes these mobsters even more money that on top of the other already the amount he owes to these other people. It's I'm already sensing the bad news and I'm worried for him.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. I just don't know how this works out for him in any way on a personal level, business wise. And not to mention the fact that he's working with his uncle and known like anti-Semite and gonna try and work with some of the associates that are, Jewish or Israeli. It's just I don't know, man. I'm interested to hear your thoughts when you get to episode 2. There's a moment because he goes over to Israel and there's a moment that happens where production wise on the script it probably seemed like a really good idea, but production wise I don't know if it was pulled off. At first it seems like a joke and then
Interesting.
it's really not helped by the production and then it gets like oddly serious and I don't know if it's the actor didn't do a good job and not Ramy, it's some kind of like Israeli soldier, but I don't know if the actor sold it well or if the production, like the music and stuff, that since there was nothing behind it, it felt almost like a joke and now it's like super serious. It just didn't play well. So you have to take a look and let me know what you think.
I'm interested on that because like they do some interesting things with the production. I'm hoping we get a lot of Ramy and also with him and other people, because season 2, as much as I like some of the one-off episodes, they did 3 or 4 of the episodes, which was like half the season on, like his mom or his dad or his uncle. And it's like, those are all interesting and they obviously expand the world, but it's like, I want, the show's Ramy. I want to see Ramy. Like, I want to see him interact with these people as well. So I'm hoping, we get some of that this season. I'm looking forward to finishing the rest, and I'm sure Kyle, you'll probably end up finishing it as well at some point. So.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more thing to squeeze in tonight, and it's Don't Worry, Darling. So last week we did a spoiler-free review. This week we're gonna spoil the film. So that's your warning. Jump out now. Skip ahead. Do what you have to do, but spoilers are coming. A housewife living with her husband, Florence Pugh and Harry Styles respectively, are in this utopian experimental community, and she begins to worry that this glamorous company could be hiding disturbing secrets. I said a lot about my thoughts last week, so I want to start off with Kyle, who has seen it. Kyle, what do you think of Don't Worry, Darling?
I enjoyed it. I liked it. I think it's getting more hate than it probably deserves. There's a lot of interesting. The end kind of really, I don't know,
sours, I think.
Opens it up to just like, wait, how does this affect this? Where does this play in? A lot of stuff earlier in the movie that makes you just question a lot of stuff. But Florence Pugh is just, dude, like dynamite. She is fantastic. She is great in this movie. I thought Harry Styles was fine. I thought all the performances were pretty well done. And even like somebody like Nick Kroll is doing exactly what he's being asked to do and doing a good job at it. So the production elements
Yeah.
are fantastic. These kind of like creepy, surreal, dreamlike moments are very interesting. So I think all those hit the mark. I mean, production wise, production
Yeah.
design wise, where you have them living in this 1950s style world. It's very well created. It's just, yeah, I think what you mentioned last week of the script, it's like at the end, what I mean, I don't know if you want to start. The main questions that I have are, uh,
Why?
yeah, but it's like, how are all these people linked? Are they linked by a software? What is the
Yeah.
the
So
nuclear?
we should probably set up what this is here.
Yeah.
So we find out that, I guess, in a way, that Harry, unhappy with his relationship at home, his wife is working a lot. So we find out that Florence Pugh is actually a nurse or a surgeon or
Surgeon,
something
yeah.
there. It's 2020 or 2022 or whatever,
Mhm.
and goes home to her husband, who's sitting listening to podcasts and whatever about
Mhm.
conspiracies and this and that, unhappy that the dinner isn't cooked for him at whatever 6 o'clock, and ends up kind of entering themselves into this VR matrix type world,
Mhm.
alternate reality thing, where it becomes this 1950s utopian paradise.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's where it opens a lot of questions for me, because in the theater, I was in on the mystery for a lot of the movie. And then when
Mhm.
when it was first revealed that this was like fake, I'm like, okay, I can get around with that a little bit. Maybe it's like a throwback town out in the desert, and
Mhm.
you get brought out there, but it's all real. But then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, when it became this Matrix VR, put this eye thing on, it's like, okay, now we're getting too sci-fi Black Mirror for me, and it started opening up more questions as soon as
Mhm.
that happened. And then as soon as that happened, I was like, wait, what? Like, that I couldn't focus for the rest of the movie, because all that stuff we just saw, I feel like was mystery. Those trailer moments I talked about that don't really add up to what we ended up getting in the final twist at the end.
Mhm.
And we'll go through them in a bit. Stop me if I'm ranting too much here, but like those moments I talked about, those cool stylistic moments, I've heard some people say, oh, it could be argued that it was a glitch in the matrix kind of thing.
Mhm.
But it's like, I think you can't do that and say that for everything that happened, because there were so
Yeah.
many of those moments where it was like her looking another way in the bathtub mirror, or the glass wall closing in on her, the footage, just random footage of somebody smoking going in reverse. There was too
Mhm.
many of these things to be a glitch in the matrix. And if it was, what's causing the glitch? Like, what is
Yeah.
causing her before all these things happen? Why are these things glitching now? And like, why specifically those things? Why are we seeing all these black and white dancers? Like, it just didn't. Oh, this just looked cool. Like, this just seemed like a cool moment. And that's what really pulled me out, where it's like, yeah, no, like, I could see the black cat walking around twice. Okay, that's a glitch in the matrix. But like, there's too many of these to really, I don't know, add up to what we finally
Yeah.
got.
The only thing I could think of is maybe it's treading on this psychosis that they're getting from the drugs or whatever's keeping them in the launched within the system. That's the only thing I can think of.
Hmm.
But I come back to, okay, why is the plane fly?
That was a huge one. That was my next question. I don't
Why
understand the
is there
plane,
a plane flying? What's the purpose of this?
because it's so important. It's on the poster. I mean,
Yeah,
it's this plane crash. Like, what is happening? What can you explain it? And it can't. It's a glitch in the matrix. Stop. You can't keep
yeah.
saying that. So it's like, And first I thought, okay, this might have been interesting if they did this or stated this, but like, okay, she's this surgeon or, nurse, doctor. Like maybe they have added a line of dialogue saying like, oh, he just suffered a plane crash and blah, blah, blah. Like we have to get him into surgery. That would at least added something there, like, to connect the two worlds, but they didn't do that.
My other problem was they have this rumbling that happens every now and again, but it just says, oh, the boys are back at it again. They make it seem like, is it just a guise to make them feel like whatever they're doing is important because they can feel whatever kind of magical mystery work that's supposed to be happening? Is that really all it is to make people think that they're in this world where important stuff is happening, when really the people are just leaving to go back to their daily jobs?
I was like really confused with also, like you mentioned, like the men, coming in and out of this world. So the men can die in this world, but the women can't. Like they have to go outside, because then they were like, oh, they're gonna go find your body. They're gonna go kill you in the real world.
Yeah.
And it's like, so wait, the women can't die here, but the men can, but they're both in this world with this VR goggle. Like it doesn't make sense. Like it's like one thing if you're setting up this world, you establish the rules of this world, at least at this point. And there were so many things that I think at the end, it became like too much like twist. Like the biggest one I don't understand is Chris Pine's wife goes at the end there, stabs him, and says, now it's my turn. What does that mean?
Yeah, I was confused by that too. The only thing I could think of was that she was in on it too.
But like we didn't see that like at all in the whole movie. There was no like little foreshadowing. There's no like sprinkles. It was just completely out of the blue for the audience to go, oh, like for that gasp of the audience, because it makes no sense. Now it's my turn for what? Now you're gonna use this world and
run the company, because Chris Pine runs the company, right? He's the one has this like weird YouTube thing where he like tells incels that they need to be the great men that they were meant to be in this utopic world. But I gotta imagine that she was in on it, and the only foreshadowing, I guess, that we could say is when she is at the dinner table with Florence Pugh, and she's had enough of what Florence Pugh is saying, and is like, how dare you kind of say anything bad about this, whatever we're creating. But I just always I would have assumed that she was like a character stuck in the Matrix as well. I don't know, but
I mean, that's what I thought by that, where it's like, I'm killing you. You're done. I'm now in control here. Like, because again, the guys can die in this world, but I guess the women can't. That's another like, confusing thing. Or maybe she can die. I don't know. Maybe she's a part. It's too confusing. I don't understand the rules. And you mentioned Chris Pine as well. I was really confused with the sequence with I guess Harry's promotion in this world. Okay, maybe he spent so much money, he gets to be the elite status or whatever in this Sims type game. But he gets this ring, and as soon as he puts the ring on from Chris Pine, Chris Pine makes him dance, and he's dancing around. And at first I'm like, is this some kind of like mind control device, this ring, where, because he's like, turn, and then immediately he turns, and then he's like dancing like a puppet, like a marionette the whole time. So I'm like, but then this wasn't that. So it's like, I'm like, what is happening again? Like, this is just a moment, and it was cut, and edited in a way when she's freaking out in the bathroom. So it made it seem like there was this big. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah,
this doesn't make sense. This is just like for drama, for the sake of drama. But
I
don't know. So those are all. I mean, just some of my issues. I probably could keep going on, and I agree with what you were saying. I think it's getting a bad rap of like how like atrocious train wreck it is, because it's not. There's a lot of good production elements, the production design, the score, the performances that you mentioned. It comes down for me, the script, and I think the direction, like these choices. Like once you find out the
Mm.
twist at the end, it's completely just like, wait, what?
Yeah, and I thought at one point, at the end when I felt like there was a multi-layered twist here,
Mm.
and I just felt like it was too much at the end. Maybe it could have gone simpler and made it much stronger. But it was like adding additional layers to this that I didn't think needed to be there, or were making it more confusing. The other point is the one that confused me, right? So if we are in this matrix system, why are we giving why are we buzzing her mind to make her forget? And also, does this mean we're buzzing her mind in the real world or buzzing her mind in the VR world? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, where did this happen? Because we haven't seen this one dude, the doctor there.
Yes,
We
Simmons
haven't
there, yeah.
seen him in the real world. I don't think he's making house calls to the
'Cause I
actual
think
place. I don't know.
Because then it's also confusing. Like, you have the guys in like the red jumpsuits, so it's like, wait a minute, are they just like computer programs? I mean, like
Yeah.
the way that they crashed their cars into each other was very cartoony out there in the desert. And, like
Mm,
that's why you got Timothy Simmons there going like, "Drive, you idiots!" Like, and it's just like
yeah.
he's the
So,
only one that could possibly go there. It's just because then again, I go back to it's like, okay, what about like the bus driver? So if is this man is working in this world,
mhm,
in this fantasy world, like that's his fantasy is to be a bus driver, and like
yeah.
it's very confusing.
Yeah.
But oh man, but we could go on and on, but I think that at least covers "Don't Worry, Darling" for now. Well, we'll wait and see. Maybe when we get to Oscar or Razzie season, we can talk about it more. But all right. That's it for this week. We are going to be actually off next week, just some scheduling issues and stuff like that, but lots to come in October. I'm just going to read off some of the things we got in October. Lord of the Rings and the House of the Dragon finales. With the return of the White Lotus, we got a new Mike Flanagan Netflix series, The Midnight Club. So much to talk about. So the 17th is when we'll be back. And just with the timing of things, it'll probably be the Rings of Power finale and the premiere of The Midnight Club. But again, a lot coming up in October. Make sure you are ready and, on following us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com. We are live Monday nights on Twitch, twitch.tv/doredundancy. And you can, of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at doredundancy. I got to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight. For John, watching 10 hours of Dahmer there in less than a week. For Kyle, always coming in with those hot takes. And again, John, for posting this episode up on YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I couldn't do it without you guys.
Sure.
But until next time, I'm David Allen.
Trevor.
And I'm Kyle Bridger.
And that's all we got for Dual Redundancy. Goodbye, everybody.